we're gonna let's see. We'll go up and down. We'll roller coaster ride this whole
Sure.
thing because now we got D&D movie starring Chris
Mhm.
Pine, and we have a trailer for
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I'm not really sure. Like, it on the surface seems like something that people should enjoy. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, it's like a great action movie. It's got a good cast, and it's got, like, the fun rock and roll song for the trailer, like, oh, people making snappy quips.
Yep.
Um, so, like, on paper, it seems good, and I really liked, one of the characters' like transformations, like literal
Yeah. The
animal
owl bear.
transformations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the dragon effects that were going on. That was really fun. Like they spent some good money on visuals clearly.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, unless I'm missing something, which please point it out, I'm not really sure why this is like D. Like why this is like Dungeons
Well,
and Dragons
well,
specifically.
because I'm sure it's set specifically in a time period and place in the
I needed that.
Okay.
I
I mean,
needed that. I
I would
needed some,
I'm
like, call out to be
okay.
like, "Sure, you can call this Dungeons& and Dragons." Do you know what I mean?
I'd
Because
have
like,
to
it
watch it
always bothers
again
me when
to
people.
mhm.
Yeah, and maybe I missed it, totally willing to admit if I did. But I don't like it when people, like, tie it to something and then, like, there's nothing to indicate that it needed to be tied to that. So it's
Yeah,
like what I was talking about last time when we're talking about, like, um, the Stranger Things play that's coming out. Like, I
right.
think there needs to be very specific call outs to World of Stranger Things. Otherwise, like, don't call it Stranger Things. So
Mhm.
here's where I'm like, I need a specific call out to D&D. Otherwise, don't call it D&D. Like, if
Yeah,
you want to
I
make some sort of fantasy action, whatever, I don't care. Do it.
mhm. I think it's gonna be, at least from my D&D knowledge, it's gonna be the creatures that are I think the owl bear thing, not only are owl bear is a fan favorite, but
Sure.
recognizable and specifically D&D. So I think that's probably a big reason that whole thing was in there, because otherwise it would have been a fun
Sure.
surprise to show.
Right.
Right at the beginning, I recognized a creature. I forget what they're called now, but they live in the forest and they got it's
Yeah.
like a kind of a cat with multiple tails.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, I love the creature features of this trailer.
mhm,
I wrote it's like a cleaner rock and roll version of The Witcher that I didn't ask for.
sure. Yeah, it definitely will be less. Witcher's dark for sure, gritty, and this is gonna
It's
have
so pretty.
more humor. But it looks better than Lord of the Rings on the new
Oh,
one.
I will give
Like,
it that.
like I looked at it, I was like, hey, these effects and the world around, like it looks well done. Like you said, he's clearly spent some money on
Mhm.
you know, on the effects here. So I was
I think
surprised. I agree. It's not something I asked for at all.
mhm,
I don't know if Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is the best title to kick this off,
mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
I also felt like Chris Pine was just like, and I'm really sorry to say it, Chris Pine, but like a low rent version of Witcher's Bard. Like,
What? Oh my god. Oh my god. You say that
'cause
about Chris Pine? Wow.
I know, but like they just had
Wow.
to like throw in at the end that he like plays a lute and is funny, and I was like, oh, like I feel like you're trying to capture that magic, and I don't want you to. Like
I,
his character was all fine by me, and then at the last minute they were like, "Oh, and he plays a lute," and I was like,
okay.
don't
Okay.
do it."
Well, here we go. We have a little disagreement on this one. I was surprised. I was surprised that this based on this trailer alone,
Hmm.
that list looks enjoyable to me. And given the state of how poorly done I think so much, especially fantasy stuff, is done these
Hmm.
days, um, I was surprised because it would be
Yeah.
common for a movie based on a license to be the cheaper thing. That's how way it would always be. It'd be like, here's this not super mainstream license. We're gonna take like before we'd take Doom or we'd take Resident Evil and we'll just butcher it. We'll just butcher the whole
Wow.
thing.
World of
Yeah.
Warcraft.
Yeah. Yep. Um that that was, I think, unfairly maligned a little
I
bit.
think I
But
think I think they just like didn't know how to market it well.
yeah.
It was
It did well in
poorly
China.
marketed.
Yeah. Huh.
People just didn't understand like how to approach it, I
Mhm.
think, is was its problem. Not to malign the movie.
Yep. I want to say quickly thank you, Lady
Oh.
Mythicals, for the follow. Much
Oh,
appreciated.
thanks.
So I didn't put this in the rundown, but being we're talking about it and I name dropped it here, there's been Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power trailers and news and stuff. Have you
Mhm.
absorbed any of that? Have your
Some of it, yeah.
okay. Do you
Yeah.
have any more thoughts?
I'm still like I'm gonna watch it. It's happening. It's against my will, but I have to. I just feel like I have to know, you
Mhm.
know? But yeah, I'm not really excited about it between, Galadriel not being Kate Blanchett and like seeing more of her story. Like not that her story's not cool, but I just can't wrap my brain around like a different woman. It's really bugging me. Um the world seems okay. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. Like I'm just so like I don't know what to expect from this.
I
And I'm
just
still in the camp of like you stop calling it Lord of the Rings.
yeah, yeah. I am I alone in just feeling like our standards have just dropped through the floor when it comes to movies and entertainment? Because it's
What
I
do
don't
you
know
mean
if
our
it's a fate.
standards?
I don't know if it's like a phase we're in or something. It's sort of like when the prequel movies came out for Star Wars, and
Mm,
particularly with Attack of the Clones, the second one, it was kind of made a big deal about going all digital, and we saw sets where it was just all green screen, the whole thing. So
mhm,
you'd have ramps and everything is all made out of green, and then we had Anakin riding around a giant tick thing, balancing on its back and stuff. And it's like we're not in a better place right now. This is not
mhm,
improving the medium, actually. Now, maybe
mhm,
there's some technology, but that's good to be used. But I feel like we're taking this to technology. It's out there now. Just
mhm.
everyone is using it, and there's no weight to anything. I've
Yeah.
I've harped on this before. So not only affect the effects, but I feel like it's the same thing as my dad would complain about with sign painting, because he's a sign painter for a long time, and so he go around and a lot of sign painting was be replaced by computers. Someone design a computer and print it out and make vinyl decals that way and stuff. Well, that's so easy to do. So you'd have sign shops opening up everywhere, and none of those people know anything about making a sign. They don't know
Mhm,
about like readability and layout and like proper color background versus foreground, you know, sans versus, sans serif, like just all the things that you would like, I don't know, read a book or be taught to make
mhm,
a proper sign. No, they don't know it. And it's kind of with photography. Once it went digital, digital's great for everybody, but that's why they keep making this cameras smarter on your phones, because people don't know how to take pictures. So the phone has
mhm.
to do it for them as much as
Right.
possible. And so you'll see professional photos or professional, quote unquote, and they're not good because anyone can pick up
Mhm,
a camera and do it. And we're in this space with the movies where Hollywood is hiring people that don't know how to make movies from top to bottom. They don't know how to write a script. They don't know how to apparently storyboard. They don't know how to, and like there's the old guard left that went through it. They used to edit by cutting film strips and taping them together, and they edited the old school. But those people are getting older. They're dying out. They're not getting all the jobs. So they're not being hired for this stuff. And now it's these up and comers that I don't know, they get hired because they know someone that knows someone or whatever, you
Mhm.
know. They make it in town and people like them. And so we're just getting garbage constantly. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece in so many
Mhm.
ways. And the weight that you are made to feel, the way that world is brought to life, because a lot of it is real. You are going places, you are using practical effects when possible, miniatures in other ways, the real artistry behind it. I just feel like we don't have that now. And we're just,
Mhm.
it's a, we should, where things should be getting better and people should be improving on this stuff. It's not. We're just getting lazy. Whereas before, it was like Jurassic Park, you'd have most of the dinosaurs were practical and they look spectacular. And now because
Mhm.
we can just throw CG at it, we just have dinosaurs flying everywhere, and you break believability.
Right.
I'm just upset by the whole thing. The whole Hollywood machine is just
Sure.
scourging.
So so I I agree with most of what you're saying. And I think that my anger comes with the last bit that you pointed out, which is believability. Because, like you said, when you have something like, okay, so we're building like a replica of a T Rex, when you do something like that, you get a sense of like weight and balance and movement, of reality, of mechanics, of like how this creature would move. And so you understand what to do to animate this creature in a believable manner. When you have like free reign of CGI and you can just like digitally create whatever you want to, you don't have to follow those rules. So people do mess up in the believability of like, okay, well, you can't make a dinosaur move like that, or you can't, make like these creatures because they would never like move this way, or they can do things that like no human could possibly do. And it's like so extra and they're undefeatable because you just like don't understand the living being of what you've created. So that's my problem. Not that we're using like technology, I guess, because I feel like some people can use it and it can have the potential to be good. But when you have somebody who does it all the time, yeah, you just don't have that believability when you use it.
Mhm.
And you don't have like, if you're not using, I don't know, like makeup or prosthetics or things attached to a human, but you're just CGIing their face, you lose all semblance of like, how do people make expressions? When people make expressions, what does the rest of the face or body do? And
Mhm.
that's where we run into trouble. People just like forget the limits of reality
Mhm.
because they have so much power in the digital.
Yeah.
And that's my problem with, these tools that are being misused. And I think part of the problem that you're describing is we have so much demand for content. There's not enough like good people to go around. So people just like end up hiring whoever because they're like, we have to mass produce like so much content. We have to have more content than Netflix. We have to have more content than Amazon. Like everybody has to have so much content that it's just like whoever we can find off the street, get them. Let's do it. And so that's why we have a plethora of shitty content.
Well,
That's my
they're
opinion. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and that could be, but my mind, they're making the wrong choice. Then instead of like trying to just scale this up, let's worry about downsizing. A lot of the best
I agree.
Doctor Who was simple.
Mhm.
I always think of 12 Angry Men, classic. It takes place in a courtroom with 12 people. Like that's what it is. There is a panic room back in the 90s or whatever, or the 2000s, whatever it was.
Mhm.
And it just takes place in a house with a few people. A lot of
Mhm.
it's in a small space. The
A
other
Room
one,
with Brie Larson.
yeah, right. There's several of these, and the one of the best Doctor Who episodes, or a really good one. They're on a train. They're on a different planet,
Mm.
and they're on a train
Mhm.
car.
Yeah.
It you we're They're leaning on all this
Scale.
stuff. Yeah, this scale, because they don't have the talent to write. Like if they had a good story, you can lean on the story. They don't have that. They have to lean
Mhm.
on dazzling you with effects that aren't believable anymore. You know,
Mhm.
it's Marvel is one of the worst offenders. They just keep trying to ramp it up. They think to get audiences, we just have to keep ramping the stakes,
Mhm.
the like craziness.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's the small stuff. It's like listening to a song that has no sense of balance or flow. If the whole song is screaming and loud, then nothing
Mhm.
is loud. It's all just noise. You have to have the quiet moments so that the loud
Mhm.
moments mean something. It's like I've listened to a lot of reviews on the new Thor movie, and it's like if you want to have something funny, you have to have moments that aren't funny so that you
Mhm.
can laugh at something and then have a breath and then have a chance to laugh again a while later. You know,
Mhm.
if it's just one note, we feel nothing. There's no
Mhm.
roller coaster ride of emotions. And we're just throwing shit at the screen. So and just add more of it, add more shit, and people will like it, I guess. I just
Mhm.
I don't know. We're gonna talk about Marvel is coming up here. Um and Lord of the Rings, yeah, it shouldn't be called that. I I feel bad for all of the die-hard Lord of the Rings fans out there because they've been a good fan base. Like I remember
Mhm.
when the Lord of the Rings movies were in development, it was kind of earlier days of like internet fandom and stuff and people
Mhm.
talking about it. And I remember even then people talking about how the Lord of the Rings fan base seemed more mature. Like they were
Yeah.
understanding some stuff would have to change, you know, they were very knowledgeable on the source material. And I think it's really a load of garbage that you know,
We're getting screwed.
Bezos yeah, that Bezos says he cares about Lord of the Rings. He doesn't. He doesn't or you wouldn't be making up a story about Gladriel, you know?
Mhm.
Tell a real story that Glad
Yeah, I
happened to
mean,
Gladriel.
the real news that came out, I feel like, was that Amazon has, like, almost no rights to almost any, like, main stories.
Yeah.
Like, they confirmed, they're like, "Oh, yep, we don't have this one, we don't have this one," and it was just like, "Okay, so what do
Mhm.
you have?"
Yeah.
Like, I know you had, like, material from the Tolkien estate, but, like, what is it?
Mhm.
Because it's
Yeah.
not anything that, like, people really know about, so I don't know. I guess that I don't know, it could be a good thing, it could be interesting, but I'm terrified. I'm so absolutely terrified. I'm gonna watch, but I'm terrified.
Well, there's this kind of thing going around where I think people, like, they wanna shrug off the idea of lore, you know? It's like, you it where it's not important, you know, look, it's a TV show. You know, a normal person will be like, "It's not a big deal. It's a TV show. Maybe it's okay." You know, and that's fine, but that's not what it is to be a fan. You have to care about the
Right.
source material. And someone like J.R. Tolkien, clearly that spent a good chunk of his life creating languages, multitudes of them, drawing
Right.
maps. He didn't think it was
Right.
nothing. He didn't think
Right.
this
He is
was like meaningless and you can just change it
I
and do
mean,
whatever with it. It was his life.
right. Right. Like, check the Silmarillion. Like, that is a whole history of creation. Like,
Hmm.
and not a short little like creation myth that takes like 10, 12, 20, even 100 pages. It is huge. It is so detailed. He has one of the most beautifully, fully fleshed out worlds of any, like, sci-fi fantasy, and
Hmm.
I don't care if you at me about it, like, this is what I think, and I think there's plenty of evidence to back it up. So, yeah, so ignoring all of that that he poured into, that he just, like, spent hours and hours clearly, like, agonizing over the details is such a slap in the face.